All right, there we go, Kazi. First of all, everybody, thank you very much. I'm sure everybody will still be kind of logging in, but we love to have our fantastic vendors and partners come in and give us some fantastic insight. So a huge attribute for a lot of our business and making our job easier. When you have 15 or 20 escrows going at one time, you have to have an amazing coordinator or a coordination company assisting you to do all of that stuff, or you would lose your mind. So Kazi's going to go over the escrow process, kind of what she does as far as walking you through the purchase contract. Because again, you can start to see, if you're a newer agent, you can start to see how the TC process and the timeline process basically correlates perfectly with the purchase contract. So I'm going to be throwing this up on a couple different sites though. So if you are in another state, like we're in Colorado, you just need to make sure that you know the purchase contract inside and out. And all of the different contingencies and how they affect the timeline and you and your clients moving forward. So without further ado, we'd like to welcome Level Up TC and Kazi Carrillo. Thank you, Kazi, for joining us.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Good. Nice. All right. So basically what I do is I handle all the tedious paperwork. That way you can go out and continue to grow your business. That way you don't have to worry about all the contingency dates, because as you know, when you go in a contract, there's so many things that can happen and change based off of a certain contingency. And with, you guys working with your clients, being on the road, going on showings, doing listing presentations, it's hard to manage for agents. And that's where I come into play. And so what we do is when we go into escrow, my agents will send me an opening email, and that is with all the fully executed purchase contract docs. And what I do is I create a contingency timeline. And then that's basically all the dates that are on the contract of the buyers and sellers duties. And then I send that out to all parties involved so that we can make sure that we're all on the same page. Because believe it or not, sometimes there's discrepancies where, because there's so many people involved, somebody's one day ahead or something like that. And then what I do is I send intro emails to everyone involved, letting them know that I'm assisting whoever my agent is at that time. And basically everything from when we get the accepted contract all the way to close. So there's a lot of things, as you know, in the contract, like SRPDS, condo documents, contacting the lender on appraisal status, or even when we're representing a seller, ordering the condo docs, ordering the survey, ordering termite inspection. So there's a lot that goes on, and I'm here to assist to make sure that we don't miss anything at all. Normally what our process is to follow up on any contingencies prior to the due date. Same thing with, amendments or signatures or documents that need signatures, making sure that we get that in a timely fashion so that way we can continue to move along and get this deal closed for you. So I wanted to show you guys SkySlope, some tips and tricks that may be beneficial to you guys. So I want to share my screen.
And real quick, Kazi. So I just want to remind everybody out there that Kazi is an unlicensed transaction coordinator. So that means that she can't do any agent-related responsibilities. So for you guys, you are doing the negotiations. If you're having Kazi draft a form, you have to give specific verbiage. And again, if a timeline is missed, you missed a timeline, Kazi didn't. She is a helper for you. Sorry,
exactly.
Disclaimer.
So I'll get on you if I needed anything from you. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. So on SkySlope, there is a tab where you can click support, and it basically looks like this.
To my ears. What?
You're not muted.
Oh, I'm not muted. I'm talking right now. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Kaz.
It's okay. So when you log into your SkySlope, there's on the right-hand corner, it's going to have your name, and then it's going to have this little icon. So if you click on that little icon, there's tons of tutorials that you can read that are super, super helpful on like tips and tricks in SkySlope. But majority of the time, if you have a transaction coordinator, the transaction coordinator is going to be handling all that for you. So you don't necessarily have to worry about it too much. But if there's something that you needed to get done prior, or you know, you needed to access something over the weekend, you can definitely go into SkySlope and you can see everything. So if you click that little support tab, it'll take you to, let's see, go to the main page. So this is going to take you to this page. You guys can see my screen, right? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So what the agents will do is click I am an agent, and there's different articles and videos that you guys can check out. Some of the ones that I wanted to kind of touch base on was how to create a listing. So let me click that tab.
Let's take a look at how to create a listing file using Sky, our listing assistant. Let's get started. From the homepage, click on Create Listing. First, you'll be prompted to enter in the property address. You can type the address and click on the best Google search result that matches, or click on Switch to Manual Entry and enter in the address yourself. This is helpful if the address is not returned in a Google search, or if you're working on a land property that doesn't have a specific street number or street name. Once you have the address entered, click on Let's Go to move to the next step. Now we have to select the checklist type, which dictates the list of required documents based on our file type. I'm going to go ahead and select the best match and click on Next Question to move forward. Here we'll enter in the list price, and again, Next Question to move forward. Now we have the listing and sale commissions. These can be entered as a percentage or as a flat dollar amount. On the next page, we have to enter in the listing date and the expiration date. You can do so by using the calendar picker or with a 2-digit month, 2-digit date, and 4-digit year. You can see here if the dates are off, you'll get an error message and you can go back and correct that to move forward. Next, we have the year built for the property. We have a drop-down to select the source of the deal. And finally, we have the seller's names. The system will default to just one seller, but if you have more than one, you can add a second one and then fill in their information. If this next feature is enabled for your brokerage, you will now have the ability to order a natural hazard disclosure from one of the companies listed here. After ordering the document, it will be processed and automatically uploaded into your SkySlope file. To opt out, simply click on No Thanks, Sky, and move forward. Next, you'll have one final page where you can confirm the details listed here for your listing. At this point, you go back and make any changes, or click on Create Listing to formally have the file generated. Here we are on our checklist of list of required documents, and now all we have to do is upload our documents and search for that buyer. And that's all it takes to create a listing with Sky. If you have any questions, reach out to our 24/7 support team. Happy Sky Slipping.
So one thing too that I wanted to touch base on for the listings, majority of the time I'm going to be creating all that information, but for the listing specifically, there's some agents that do create their listing in SkySlope already, and then they upload most of the listing docs. So if that is the case, that's basically some of the info that you'll have to input in. Once you go in a contract, what I do is I go into the SkySlope and I click accepted offer, and then it transitions the SkySlope from like a pre-listing to accepted offer stage, where it'll have additional information for the actual checklist. One thing that I wanted to mention also for the listing docs with EXP, their compliance department is really adamant on us uploading the day of escrow, or if we have the docs, the specific required documents that they require for compliance. So it is extremely important, especially for the TC, also to receive these docs when we're going into escrow, because the commission can be different listed on the listing contract. And what we like to do is we like to reference the listing contract, the co-op, and the MLS, just to make sure that there's no discrepancies or anything funky going on. Because what we do is we add that information on the escrow instructions for you guys. We also plug it into SkySlope, so that way EXP is notified how much commission the listing agent is getting, because it sometimes is different than the buyer's agent. So the checklist will look like this. Most of these will be red, but this one is yellow because it's already attached, and I just got a screenshot from another listing that I had, so I can kind of show you guys what it'll look like. But the basic information that they're going to need is listing documentation, the county tax record, TMK, the listing contract, Exhibit A. Number 4, distressed property addendum. This is actually a new document that they just added on, that they're requiring now for all listings. So that one's super important. EXP does sometimes update the listing checklist, and they just did it recently. So that's why this one looks a little bit different maybe from your previous listings. I noticed that they did also update the buyer's sky slope as well. But no need to worry, because that's where the TC comes into play. We make sure that we get everything in there and upload it, so that way you don't have to worry about it. Some important information too is like the MLS active, the realist report. Let's see. Property photos. This is a big one that they normally will add notes on if we don't have. Marketing materials too. And keep in mind, if you don't have any of this, like say if there was no photos done and there was no marketing material because it went into contract before it was even live, what you just let me know and I'll go ahead in there and I'll add notes like non-applicable. So that's that on the listing. Let's see. I wanted to show you guys this cool feature. It's super, super cool. It shows you how you can literally drag and drop documents. So say if, you know, for whatever reason you're in a rush, you're like, oh, I got to upload this to SkySlope really quick. I don't want to lose it. I want to just add it here. You can basically drag and drop, which I feel like is super awesome. Let's see. So it'll give you an example right here on how you can just drag and drop the document into SkySlope, which is nice instead of clicking attach, download, upload the PDF. And it's too easy. Let's see. And then commission breakdown page. This is another important thing for the SkySlope, which is what I was referencing to on the listing agreement, why it's important, because I plug in the information here, and at the end when we're going to close, this is where her name is Chrissy. She normally works on all the files for EXP. She'll send a few, I think it's like a week or so before we close, she'll send a DA sheet, which is a disbursement authorization sheet, to escrow. And she's basically getting all the information from SkySlope that we put in, and she's sending it to escrow to let them know how to disperse the funds. So that's super important to make sure that we have accurate, especially when it comes to like purchase price changes. You guys don't need to worry about adding that or changing that in SkySlope. That's something that the TC does. Even if there's any type of credits, any type of deductions, if there's, you know, any referrals, that's important for us to know too in the beginning when we go into escrow, so that way we can send the appropriate party their percentage. If there's any type of additional notes, so for example, what I've run into is when we're creating a SkySlope, if there's not, so it'll ask if this is like a personal referral or what kind of lead it is. Sometimes there's not options for the specific lead that it was, so we'll just go ahead and add it in the comment section. A lot of times what I do too is I'll leave notes for EXP saying, hey, when you send the DA sheet, please CC myself, my agent, and that way I know it gets done. Because we don't want to, you know, wait last minute and then be like, and then have escrow contact us like, hey, wait, what's going on? We need an updated sheet. You know, we don't want to stress about that at the end. We want to be able to be proactive and make sure that everything's 100% accurate. So that's that. Let's see. Let me go back to the page. Oh, let's see, let me go back. Does anybody have any questions so far or anything?
Going good so far, Kazzy.
Cool.
Real quick, I'm going to just jump in real quick for as far as that distressed property addendum to add to listings. So everybody's aware with it. It is just a disclosure form. 95% of agents don't really even know what the distressed property addendum is, and they think that you mean the property is distressed. All it means is if they're behind on anything, mortgage, taxes, HOA, they legally now have to disclose it. So that's why it's an EXP requirement now. It just protects you, the sellers. It just protects everybody. So part of your script needs to be when agents or sellers are like, well, my property is not distressed. It's just a disclosure form and it's required by our company. That should be the way it is. And again, it is a requirement. So easy peasy.
All right, so I wanted to show you guys on DigiSign some cool little tips and tricks. So DigiSign is actually what we send documents through for signature. So I found a really cool part of DigiSign where we can create templates, and I feel like this is going to be super beneficial for any of you agents that actually draft documents or contracts and send it for signatures through DigiSign. I'm not sure what you guys are using now, but of course it is nice to kind of streamline and have everything in one place. So I just recently found that you can create templates in DigiSign, which I feel like is amazing, because if, say for example, if you guys have an S or PDS that you need to send to your sellers to have them sign, who wants to really go through and add all the check boxes and add all the signature blocks on that lovely 5-page document? Because there's a lot, you know, because the sellers can click yes, no, or not applicable. So I want to show you a little video. And if you guys need assistance too with creating the templates, I can totally help you guys, because I just started implementing it into my system and I feel like it is super, super cool.
Let's go ahead and get started with DigiSign templates. DigiSign templates are huge time savers by allowing you to send out the same documents in DigiSign without having to place the blocks every time. Let's get started. On the home page, you'll go ahead and click on the DigiSign icon. And from here, you're going to click on the tab labeled Templates at the top of the page. Once the Templates page loads, you'll go ahead and click on New Template in the upper right corner. From here, we'll see a couple different fields. First, you can go ahead and give your template a name. After naming it, you can also share your template with other agents in your office by just selecting their name and clicking on Share.
So that part I feel like is really cool too, especially for you guys that have teams and if you have other agents that are under you, so that way they can have access to that in their SkySlope.
We can go ahead and add a description so that we know what this template is. We can also add a subject line and a message that will go out when we send this envelope from DigiSign. Keep in mind, you can also add a subject line and a message from within DigiSign once you're sending it. You don't have to add it here in the template preparation page. Now that we've finished that up, it's time to add our documents and our signers. I'm going to drag and drop my document from my desktop into the uploader section. Or if you'd rather try it the classic way, you can also click on Upload and then select your document from your computer. On the left side, you can also change the order in the documents appear. Now let's go ahead and add our signers. I'm going to go ahead and click on New Role. I'm going to go ahead and add my first seller here. Click on Save. Now time to add the second one. Add my other seller, click on Save. And I also want to add my broker to receive a copy of the signed document. So I'm going to select Broker. And then instead of needs to sign, I'm going to select receives a copy and then save. I also want one of my sellers to sign before the other, so I'm going to add a new signer group and select seller 2 to sign second. Now we're ready to move forward. Here we are on the document tagging page, where across the top we have a list of different blocks you can place, like signature, initials, date, sign. I'm going to go ahead and place one signature block for each party. I'm going to go ahead and use the drop-down menu to change this to seller 2. And I'm going to go ahead and add a date signed for each of them. I'm also going to add some text on here. And just like that, we're good to go ahead and save our template. So we're going to scroll up and in the upper right, click on Save. Your template has been successfully saved. Go ahead and click on Close. And now we come back into our template section. Here we have our saved template. Off on the right side, you can click on the envelope icon to create an envelope to send out, or click on the trash can to delete. If you need to edit your template, just click on it to open. and you can change any of the fields in here. All right, that's about it for templates. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to our 24/7 support team. We're here and happy to answer all of your questions. Happy sky sloping!
Yay, so that's an awesome feature that I really like, and I feel like it'd be super beneficial for you guys to utilize, especially when you guys are sending contracts for signatures, and if you use like the same, contingencies and all that good stuff. Another cool thing that I wanted to show you guys on DigiSign is the history. So anytime we get, a buyer that says like, hey, I didn't get anything in my inbox, or I didn't see what's going on, or it's not letting me sign, you can always click the DigiSign tab, which is on the main homepage of SkySlope, and you can see sent documents, completed documents, and you can even check the history, which is really, really cool.
Hey Sky Slopers, today we're going to cover how to view the envelope history and download the printable certificate. In either the completed tab or the sent tab, click the clock icon for the envelope you want to inspect. This will bring up a card that will show you the history of that envelope. The envelope history records many details of the signing process, such as when the envelope was sent, opened, signed, and downloaded. You can also print the signed document here by clicking Print. To view the printable certificate for the envelope, click View Certificate. This brings up a PDF that lists each signer, the style they signed the document in, and other information about the envelope. The certificate also includes a copy of the e-sign consumer consent disclosure that each signer agrees to when using DigiSign. That covers envelope history and printable certificates. If you have any questions, reach out to SkySlope support. They're always around. Until next time, happy sky sloping.
All right, so that's DigiSign. Super, super easy to use. Majority of it, though, will be the TC sending documents for signatures, but if you ever needed to locate it or see what has been sent, you can always click the DigiSign tab on the main homepage, which I have a screenshot of right here. So normally when you log into your SkySlope, your own profile will look like this. This is the main homepage. This shows the scheduled closings. Active would be like if you create a pre-listing, it'll show under this tab. Pending are all the ones that are in escrow. Then it'll show you your numbers right here, everything that's closed. So I know the video earlier showed how to create a listing. So there is two different tabs. I don't know if you can see, it's kind of small, but to create a listing, it's right here, this tab. And then to create a normal buy transaction, it's this tab. So it's basically the same information. They just kind of have different checklists, but it's all the information that the TC will normally plug in. When we get the escrow, which is like the buyer's info, their email, phone number, escrow, lender's info, the seller's name, the acceptance date, the close date, the purchase price, all that good stuff. And then normally what I like to do also is when my agent does get a new escrow, I like to give them a call that day and also go through the SkySlope with them because once everything's nice and neat in there, I can kind of navigate you a little more to show you like where specific info is and all the things that you can do in SkySlope. Anybody have any questions? Good. All right. I don't know if I don't have a SkySlope that I can show you like the full on details. I don't know if Trav, if you want me to log into one of yours, or if not, I think that kind of wraps it up.
You can hop on mine if you'd like to.
Just want to kind of show like the basic information. Okay, so once you go into the actual property, this is the basic information that it'll show. So it'll show the address, the acceptance date, we have to plug in the year built, who the agent is, escrow number, the type, purchase price, buyer and seller info, the close date, and then there is this SkySlope email. So this email you will see when I open up escrow, and it'll be CC'd on all email communication. And what that does is it basically will track all communication that is happening from beginning to end as long as that email is included on our emails. Don't worry, I know sometimes, we forget to reply with that. I'll always catch it and I'll throw it back on there. And that's basically to keep a log of everything that's happened throughout the transaction. So it's super good. I really like that feature that it has, because I feel like it's important, to keep record of everything. And then once we close, that's one of the last things that I do is I upload the communication log, and EXP stores it for their files. Another really cool feature with this email is, say for example, you have a document that is just like a miscellaneous random document that doesn't necessarily belong on the checklist that's required with EXP. You can send an email to this email, and the document will automatically go in the document section, which is a really cool feature that I like with SkySlope, because it's easy. You don't have to download the PDF. You don't have to re-upload, rename it. It's pretty cool. So it does store everything in here. The one thing about the email is it does capture images as well. So unfortunately, it'll save literally everything, like my signature line, escrow signature line. So it can get kind of messy in the docs section, but EXP is really good at keeping their checklist organized and named nicely. So this is basically how it'll look. So before, when you open up escrow, it'll be all red and it'll say required. And then as we go in throughout the 45 days, I'm constantly uploading docs as they come in, and then EXP does their part on their end, and they'll go in and they'll complete everything. So that way, the day that we close, everything should already be completed, and then there shouldn't be any missing information, and then that way you can get paid for your transaction. So this is basically what it'll look like. Sometimes we do have to add notes because files are too large and it doesn't fit on the tab. So I'll just add a note. We'll add it in the docs section. Some of the checklist too is not applicable. They have, they'll have these like grayed out boxes. But sometimes it's that case also for some of the required tabs. So if it is, we go in and we add NA, just to kind of give them a heads up. Because one thing that EXP does as well is, as we get closer to closing, you'll get an automatic email from SkySlope, and it'll say like no reply SkySlope email. And it's basically an email that says, hey, we're getting close to closing. Make sure you have everything uploaded into your SkySlope. The email looks a little misleading just because it looks like, oh wait, do we need to add more stuff? Is it missing stuff? Like, what's going on with the file? It's just an automated generated email from EXP, just, giving you a heads up like, hey, there's some required fields that maybe need notes, or it's just basically an automated email that can look a little concerning, but don't worry, your TC's got it. So yeah, this is basically the checklist. There's these tabs that you can reference also when you're going into your file: the transaction tab, the contacts tab. So this is, again, basically all the information that we need for escrow instructions and all that good stuff. The commission tab, the log tab, which is if this email CC'd, it basically will consolidate everything that's gone on from beginning to end. And then the task tab, what I do as well is I add special notes and the timeline that I create in the beginning of escrow here. So you can locate it at any time if you ever need to see where we're at exactly on the timeline. Because again, things are constantly changing and it's hard to keep track, especially like Trav mentioned earlier. If you have like 15 escrows, it's very easy to get confused as an agent to be like, oh my gosh, wait, when is this J1? When is this, when is this due? So that's where the TC comes into play, to make sure that everything is organized, in line, and that we don't miss anything. So this is where the timeline looks or is at. And then we do actually add notes as well. So if you like click this tab, you can add comments right here, and this is where you'll see the TC notes. So like, say for example, we followed up with the lender, we're going to put emailed lender and then the date that we emailed. So that way, we can all kind of keep track and organize. That way we don't forget, or we can reference the prior email that we had when we followed up. So that's basically it on SkySlope. Everything is here. Yeah. Anybody have questions?
Cassie, real quick on that. So that's where you're generating the timeline now for anyone with SkySlope, just directly through SkySlope, or are you doing it separate?
Yeah, SkySlope, unless they have like another platform that they're utilizing, but yeah, majority is in SkySlope.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're not actually creating separate timelines anymore on like how the contingencies translate?
Or what do you mean timelines?
Like when you would actually generate the timeline, it's auto-generating through SkySlope for you now, right? You're not using another program to input the dates?
Cassie used to do that for each transaction and each specific buyer and stuff.
Yeah. So we do like the PDF timeline, but that PDF timeline that I sent to all parties, it's also pasted in SkySlope for the agent that I'm representing. Does that answer your question?
Right. Well, so you're creating it and then posting it in there, or you're pulling it from SkySlope, PDFing it, and sending it out?
No. So I'm creating the timeline, the PDF timeline first, and then it goes into SkySlope.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's where I was going to say, if you're okay with it, can you show just like start to show how you are creating the timeline to again show agents basically how to reference the purchase contract to the actual timeline? You can just start it real quick. You don't have to do a full one.
Yeah, like just like pasting the task you mean in SkySlope?
Sure.
So basically, so I have a timeline template, which is what I use. And I basically will, like, for example, let's see, we can go to completed. So this is an example. So basically like this. What happened here? Tasks. So basically create a new task, add it in there, and then of course these dates are different depending on, you know, the timeline and acceptance date. And then we choose the date and then say, you know, say it's due Friday. Put a few days before, save. So automatically it'll pop up. So even if like the agent has notes that, you know, you want to relate to the TC, or even if you want to create something, because you can create timeline templates. So say if like you have a specific buyer checklist or seller checklist for yourself, you can totally use that in here as well. And you can even like assign it to you so that way we know that that's, you know, that's Travis's checklist that he's using. We're not going to touch it. So it's very, very cool and a very easy way to be able to track things because it has the due dates, the task, and then there's notes.
Perfect. And that's so all you agents just need to know how to like be able to create the timeline essentially. Like obviously it sounds silly, but J1, if it's 10 days, so 10 days from acceptance, that would be J1 due. So like all negotiations and everything has to be done within that 10-day time frame. Same thing with like seller's disclosure section. So like each of these dates that you create in each contingency paragraph in the purchase contract creates a date, and then you can actually see like a timeline that goes on that. So the agents who have done business before, you guys know that, but for newer agents, you need to be able to translate that purchase contract into like a timeline and what that would look like.
Or just hire me and I could do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the reason why I say this is because Cassie does a lot of things for you, but all you guys need to know exactly what's going on. So obviously if you have 10 escrows going and you have a flustered client who calls you, you need to be able to pop on and know exactly instantaneously exactly where you're at and say, okay, well, this is what we've done. This is where we're at right now. And this is what we still have to come. So you need to be able to know every step that Cassie does. And then you can let Cassie do the steps. So again, as some of you are learning and we start doing our first contracts together, we still use a TC. But again, you need to know every step that Cassie's doing like 100%. And be able to advise the client, negotiate on the client's behalf, as again, you're the licensee responsible for the transaction.
Yeah, and this is why I feel too, it's really super beneficial to be able to see the tasks on the platform that you're using, is so that way if your buyer or seller does call you, you're not out of the loop and you don't really know what's going on. And that way you can be like, okay, yeah, let me pull up your file, and then you can go to your specific property for that buyer, and you can see the task because everything will be updated. It'll be updated, it'll have the notes. And then of course too, you know, if you really don't know what's going on, there's been like a lot of back and forth emails, or your emails are flooded, or you have tons of files, totally reach out to me and I will definitely be able to tell you where we're at.
Awesome.
All right. So
Sorry,
yeah, let me know if you guys
I have
have
a
any
question.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, this is Pume. I am in SkySlope right now, and I'm having a hard time finding the distressed property addendum. Is it It's in Office Docs, right? Is it in our whole?
So I actually, and Trav, you might know, I actually emailed Malia. She is normally the one who goes into the files and like completes everything.
Yeah.
So most of the docs are in the working docs section, but I do think there's another Dropbox file that the agents have access to, which are actually like agent specific docs that I don't see. So Trav, do you know?
There is another Dropbox, so I'm not 100% there. I think what happened though is there were some issues on the mainland with, and this is why I said the disclaimer at the very beginning. You're the licensee. You have to do the license activities. Unlicensed TCs can't do agent specific duties. So I think they actually had like an almost situation on the mainland. Luckily, I think it was avoided, but then EXP went across the board and they tried to like create a little bit of separation. So this is actually, we did follow up with the paying TCs directly from escrow because it's not part of the contract is why they're saying you can't pay that vendor directly from escrow. So with that, I think they just went through and they're trying to create a little bit more separation between our unlicensed TCs and you, the agent, just to make sure that there's no gray area to where, you know, if you're representing a seller and a month after closing, the seller comes back and says, hey, I have a situation, I have an issue, and I want to sue somebody. They don't want to say, hey, TC, you were acting as the agent, therefore I'm going to sue you. You're the licensee, so that's where you need to act like the licensee. So I think they tried to create a little bit more separation between the TC and the agents, just to make sure that there's no gray area, because gray area leads to lawsuits in real estate. So.
And we don't want that.
No lawsuits. Yeah.
But yeah, Pume, so I did email Malia. So once I find out more information about that, I can totally send you a Slack, because I do feel like I've had a couple of agents too where they've reached out to me to see if I have like any of those docs that I don't have access to, and I feel helpless because I can't help you guys. But if I am able to just point you in the right direction to let you know, like, oh yeah, hey, here's this link, you can get it from wherever, then I think that'd be helpful.
Like, is the wire fraud also part of one of those?
No, the wire fraud is in there.
Yeah, the wire fraud's in there, but yeah,
Okay.
not like the distressed property addendum, or like I've even had agents ask me about like a backup offer addendum, like stuff like that. I don't, like the actual purchase contract docs, I don't see.
I do have a Dropbox that Reen sent me with some additional documents. I can send you guys if you guys just message me, just to make sure you guys have all the working documents.
Yeah, just because now the distressed addendum is required, right? Let me have it.
Oh wait, sorry. The distressed property addendum is in zip forms, FYI.
Oh, so
Okay, you guys have a
it's not an EXP document.
Correct. It is a national document. Like I said, it's a straight disclosure. That just, again, it's just disclosing that this is in fact not a distressed property. Doesn't mean that it is a distress, but it is in zip forms. There's two distressed property addendums. One add to exclusive right to sell. The other one add to purchase contract.
You guys normally add to the listing agreement, right?
That's requirement now, which we usually have in the past just to be safe. As his addendum is a huge one. That's, again, just a disclosure that it's another set of laws kicks in, but ultimately it's actually recorded into the Bureau of Conveyances as is. So again, that would protect you from a month later somebody coming and saying, hey, they were supposed to do this repair. No, the as is addendum basically states that everything is to be done in the contract, and after closing it is as is and nothing else is promised. So it's a disclosure that protects you. Distressed property addendum is a disclosure that protects everybody. So a lot of these are just disclosures that you should just learn how to explain it to clients and learn how to explain it to other agents. Because
Yeah, I like to say CYOB, cover your own butt.
that's it. Absolutely. So, but again, so many agents are going to be like, hey, this is not a distressed property. You're just like, hey man, it's just a disclosure. Go take a CE class that explains it. Same thing with as is. Hey, well, put it to as is. With an as is addendum, you can still negotiate. All those fun things. So you good, Kaz? Anyone have questions?
Right, yeah. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the future. I'm always available to jump on and, assist you guys, especially when we get like a new escrow. I'd love to do that with my agents just to kind of help you guys navigate and show you the ropes, and always here to help.
Gotcha. We're waiting for you in Colorado as well.
Yes, it's coming.
So cool. If anyone needs anything, they can message Cassie directly to see like what she charges and what her rates are. But she does a fantastic job. She goes kind of above and beyond normal coordination. And then right after this, right at 3 o'clock here in about 15 minutes, I'm going to do just a quick run through on Matrix MLS for some of your newer agents that just want a quick tutorial on how to do some searches. We'll hop back on in about 20 minutes. So again,
All right.
thank you very much, Cassie Kaz, Level Up TC,
Thanks,
and
guys.
agents popping
Thank you,
in.
Cassie.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, guys.